All right, so Waves has done it again. So last year on Black Friday, they released the CLA Echosphere, which was a smaller version of the CLA Epic, which was released on Cyber Monday. So this year on Black Friday, they released the Lofi Space, which is a smaller version of what we're talking about today, which is the Waves Retro Fi. So if you guys want to learn what the Retro Fi is, what it does, what it can do for your music, stick around after this introduction. Welcome everybody, I'm Dan Spencer and I am the Audio Sorcerer. So this is the channel where I teach you how to perfect your audio recording, mixing, and mastering skills. So before we get to the video, make sure you guys smash the like button. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell to know when I have new videos coming out. So without further ado, today we're talking about the Waves Retro Fi. So what is the Retro Fi? Well, it is essentially a plugin that you can put on any beat, any sound, any instrument that is going to lo-fi it, okay? It's going to create authentic lo-fi textures, warm analog sounds, and mesmerizing nostalgic vibes, as the website describes. It has vintage cassette tones, deep final grooves, a massive palette of lo-fi noises, spaces, devices, and textures. RetroFi has what it takes to breathe life into the DAW synth line, drum break, vocal ad-lib, or instrument track. Okay, so this really can be used on anything that you want to lo-fi. So in this particular video, we're going to use it on a drum mix and we're going to use it on a piano track. And together, we're essentially going to create a lo-fi mix of that. But before we listen to that, I want to make sure you guys know how to use this plugin, how all the knobs work, and all that good stuff. So I'm going to do a user interface overview. And before we get to that, I do want to mention if you end up liking this plugin, I have a link in the description below where you guys can go purchase it. And if you guys like Waves plugins, I have a link popping up in the top right corner now to my Waves reviews and tutorials playlist. Okay, so check that out after this video. With all that being said, let's take a look at the user interface of the Waves Retro Fi. Alright, so here we are in Pro Tools, and I have the Retro Fi plugin open here. So there's quite a bit to go over in this plugin, so I'll try to get through it pretty quickly. So across the top are our four modules in this. We have device, space, noise, and mechanics. And these little buttons here, lit up in green or not lit up in all, this basically allows you to turn them on and off, so you don't have to use them all if you don't want to. The device is described as it builds character. Space obviously is going to put your sound into a space like a reverb and delay. Noise, they describe it as it makes it sound real. And mechanics tells the recording's life story. So that is how the manual describes it. So starting with the device section first, so the device knob here basically is a combination of impulse responses. And starting on the far left of the knob here, this is going to be a more bright, airy sound. And as you bring it to the right, it's going to become more dull. And all the way to the right is going to be a completely flat impulse response. All right. And then the tone here, this is a phase-aligned mix between the selected high frequency and low frequency IRs in the current device settings. And they say that you should spend some time on this knob here. And then the styler here, this actually is a combination of quite a few things, limiting, distortion, and several other things based upon these decades. All right, so you have the 80s, 70s, 60s, and 50s. So the squash knob here is either a compressor or an expander. So if the LED is lit up in orange, that is going to be compression. If it is lit up in green, that is going to be expansion, all right? And if it is in the center here, the knob here, this is the neutral position where neither compression or expansion is happening. And then the ringer here, this creates some digital clipping distortion. And then down here, this is the mix knob here, which allows you to obviously mix in this sound, blend it in with all the other sounds. And then below this here, I should mention, this is the overall input into this whole entire plugin. Moving over to the space here, we are not going to talk about space. And the reason for that is because I just did a review on the Lo-Fi Space plugin by Waves. So I have that popping up in the top right corner now. If you guys want to learn more about what this particular module does, just check out that video and it explains it all. So let's move over to noise. So for noise here, these are the different profiles you can choose from for adding sound or noise to your signal. So you have cassette noise, you have digital, electric, FX, mechanic, synth, and vinyl. Okay, this stuff is really going to, in my mind, lo-fi it, all right? And then beneath that, we have the threshold knob, which is going to affect the duck and gate settings. So for the ducker, as the input signal increases, the noise level lowers. So the noise is at its greatest level when there is little or no signal. And the gate is pretty much the opposite of that, more or less. And then down here, we have an option to use pre or post on this here. And this is the overall level for it here, okay? So moving over to mechanics, the mechanics module lets you control the mechanical artifacts that are common to most old analog recordings, as it describes. So you have the wow, wobble, and speed, okay? So the wow is a variation in pitch, usually caused by irregular playback speed. The wobble is an amplitude variation, and basically the signal gets louder and quieter, and usually at a predictable rate. And the speed is the modulation speed of the wow and wobble effects. Okay, so you can create some pretty cool stuff with the mechanics section here. And at the bottom here, you have your overall high pass, low pass filters. You can monetize the signal here. All the way over to the right is full mono, and you can go anywhere in between. And all the way to the left is stereo. And this is your output for the overall plugin signal. Okay, so that is everything that the Retro-Fi plugin has to offer in a nutshell. Lastly, I do want to mention that you have all these presets in here. Under Artists, there are a ton. And of course, you can use the preset browser here to search for anything you want. So if you want to look for something for drums, you can see there's a lot for drums in here, okay? So with that being said, why don't we take a listen to what I created for this drums and piano track. So we'll start with a bypass, and then we will activate the Waves Retro-Fi. So let's give it a listen. All right, so that actually sounds pretty cool there. So all I did to create that mix was use two presets. I initially tried to dial in my own sounds, but I found that the presets were better because this isn't really my forte when it comes to producing. So for the drums, I use this drums 80s digital grunge preset. And for the piano, I use the Moody Damaged piano, okay? So that's how I created that sound. So that is my review / tutorial on the Waves Retro-Fi plugin. All right, so is the Waves Retro-Fi plugin something for you? Well, if you make hip hop music or you make lo-fi music, then this is something that you should consider adding to your collection. If you make pop music or rock music, I would definitely pass on this plugin. And I typically make those genres of music, and I can't really think of a scenario where I would actually use this plugin. So with that being said, if you guys end up liking this video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe because I'm making this content for you, and hit that notification bell to know when I have new videos coming out. And if you guys enjoyed this video, definitely check out my review / tutorial on Murder Melodies by Slate Digital, because that's another plugin where you can completely change the sound of your beat. All right? So with that being said, until the next video, I will see you guys later, and peace out.